Hi, everybody, and welcome to February. It went pretty fast there in January, didn't it? Anyhow, it was good to get some feedback from you on what we did in January, where, I took about 9 minutes or so and talked to you about vision, the ability for us to imagine something that's not real yet, and then to make it real. And many of you often talk about how do you do this? How do you apply the principles? So the feedback was great in that you liked where I shared my vision and I talked to you about how I got it into Microsoft Outlook as an all-day event. So good. So we're going to continue with that right now. And in February, what we'll do for this newsletter, just want to talk to you for a few minutes around one of the principles called Know Thyself. Socrates probably made this famous back in the day. He said, Know thyself, know your strengths and your weaknesses, right, which would be our talents. He said, Know your spiritual heritage. So it's kind of relation to something bigger. He said, Know your relation to the universe, which for us would probably be our purpose, right? People are always talking about purpose. Pastor Rick Warren had that really good book, The Purpose Driven Life. It sold tens of millions of copies. So all important, but a component of knowing thyself that I'd like to offer to you just for consideration is around our beliefs and our mindset. How do they contribute to us in terms of turning that vision, which we're only imagining right now, into a reality? So let me give you a couple definitions here. A belief, I found one that I like a lot. It's the assumptions and convictions that are held to be true by an individual or a group regarding concepts, events, people, and things. So each of us have beliefs running in all the areas of our life, about our health, about our relationships, about our job, career, about our faith, about other people, about somebody who cuts you off in traffic, somebody who takes too many items into the shopping lane. You can only have 15, they have 19. I mean, all these things, it's crazy. So if we have enough beliefs, and they're just statements usually, and we'll talk more about this. I'll give you some examples, and then I'll show you how to kind of do an exercise if you'd like to examine our beliefs, because they're so important in creating the focus for us to take action to turn these visions into reality. So if we get enough of those beliefs lined up, these short statements, then what they do is they develop our mindset. If you think about that word, right, our mind is set. And oftentimes that runs in our unconscious. So we're not thinking about it. We're just doing, right? They talk about it just hijacks us. And we do something out of our emotions, and I'll see how this ties together. And we didn't even know we did it. So if we have enough of those beliefs, they form the mindset. Here's the definition of a mindset. It's a fixed mental attitude or disposition that predetermines a person's response to and interpretations of situations. So again, if you've got enough beliefs running in your head about somebody that cuts you off in traffic as two lanes come down to one, your mindset's going to take over, right? You're going to have an interpretation about that, and then I'll talk to you about how you feel and how you act from that. You can speed up, put your hand out, and give them one of those fingers. That's a mindset. Or you could have a different belief around that and just kind of back off, right? Interesting example there. So let me bring up for you these definitions, because it got some visual learners there, and you can certainly grab your phone or take a screenshot if this is resonating with you. So just take a definition now of belief. Take a look at the definitions of belief and of mindset. All right, great. So now that you kind of understand what they are, and I gave you a few examples, let's see how they tie into us taking our vision and making it into a reality. And I'm going to show you a model in a moment we'll put up for about 15 or 20 seconds around this, but let me just explain it for you. When there's a part of our life, right, our outcomes, our reality, that's not what we want it to be, oftentimes we say, oh, you got to do something different. In corporate America, a lot of times, this is not working. We need to do something different. And I get that. That's the action we're going to take. But in order to change the action, you got to go a little bit deeper, because our action comes from our emotions and our feelings. And the way that we feel and the emotions that we have that drive our actions come from our mindset and our beliefs, right? So here's the thing. We think a certain way, forms that mind. Somebody cuts us off. We feel irritated, agitated. We take an action of speeding up or whatever it might be, and then there's an outcome there. Road rage, altercation, fender bender, any of those kinds of things. So think about it. From the outside is our reality that comes from our action or our lack of actions. Then the next circle within there, those actions are coming from how we feel or the emotions that we have. And they're coming very simply from our beliefs and our mindset. So let me bring this model up for you again. Take a screenshot if you like it, grab your phone. But let me bring that up and just see how the reality that we create really comes from the inside out. And that's where we need to do the work. So take a quick look. All right, so you got that now, right? So let me give you a couple of more examples of this and see how it comes to a better understanding for you if you don't have it yet. In 1965, I read about a young lady who was down in New Orleans. She was a single mom with 2 boys, and she was trying to figure out a way to get money to send them to college. So in 1965, against the advice of her accountant and her attorney, she spent $18,000 to buy a restaurant. Her name was Ruth. The restaurant she bought was named Chris Steakhouse. I saw this little story on a menu when I was in Ruth Chris Steakhouse recently in Chicago. So here's the thing to consider about that around this belief and this mindset that we're talking about. Right? Ruth invested these $18,000. Now she has since passed, but she built that company for a long time. I think revenues last year were $320 million. So let's get into this. Here's the reality. Single woman, 2 kids, $18,000, 1965, buying a restaurant. Your beliefs are simply how do you want to think about that? Her accountant and her attorney said don't buy it. So they had beliefs about it, which were what? It's tough for a single woman in 1965. The restaurant industry is really brutal. Most restaurants close down within 2 or 3 years. What's that percentage that we all know? So when you talk about beliefs, it's not that you're ignoring the reality or the facts of a situation. It's just merely how do you want to think about it? So Ruth didn't think about it that way. She thought this is a great opportunity for me. I'm going to work real hard, make some money, put my kids through college. Another thing that she did is she hired single mothers because Ruth had a belief that single moms had more responsibility, were more committed, and a stronger work ethic. So you can see how it would show up there. I have some friends of mine, some running friends of mine that went last month, January, down the run, the Key West Half Marathon. Now you're leaving Philadelphia, the Northeast, to go down to Key West to run a half marathon. Sounds really good, doesn't it? Sounds beautiful. Here's the kicker. There was horrible storms down there, and they ran 13.1 miles in winds that were in excess of 30 miles per hour. Now you're going to run 13 miles, storm, winds 30 miles an hour. It sucks. That sucks, right? There's the reality of it. But my sense is that they chose some different beliefs and some mindsets knowing these people. You know, we're going to do it. We're going to go to our happy place. It'll be great when it's finished. This is what we came down here to do. I'm thankful for my health. You know, that in my 50s, I can run this race. Those beliefs are radically different probably from people said, this sucks, man. Let's just go to the bar. It doesn't matter. It's just 2 different outcomes. Successful 13.1 miles, a good time in Key West. So you see, it kind of relates to something when I read Marcus Luttrell, Lone Survivor. You probably saw the movie, and it was about the book. I remember reading that book when Marcus Luttrell was starting to train to be a Navy SEAL, and that training is brutal in terms of its physical. You're up for 24 hours, you're in and out of the ocean, there's sand all over you, you're carrying logs. Many of us know that. As Luttrell was starting to train for that, there was a former Navy SEAL, right? A past Navy SEAL that helped him train, and he said something to him. He said, you have to understand this. He said, your mind will quit way before your body. Your mind will quit way before your body. And I think what he was talking about was this notion of beliefs. Right? How do we kind of keep things running in there as we're engaged in oftentimes challenging situations? I have some young friends of mine, born sisters, Kristen and Kara, and they are down in Nashville. They're country music artists. Now, you go to Nashville. How many people go down there? What could be the beliefs about this? Oh, the music business is tough. You'll never make it. I mean, this is horrible. Those people are cutthroat. You know, one of the Bourne sisters elected not to go to college. What are the beliefs around that? Oh, she should go to college. She should get an education. You can always go to Nashville. Let me tell you what, the Bourne sisters have been down there for some months now, and they're doing great. They're playing a lot of gigs. They're meeting a lot of great songwriters. They're writing with a lot of great songwriters because their beliefs are not all those limiting ones. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can choose. That's the situation. Two young girls go down to Nashville to pursue their dream. All kinds of different beliefs around that. They're going to produce a different emotion, a different action or lack of action, and then an outcome. The ones that go down there and say, oh man, this is really tough, this is cutthroat, they're going to feel defeated. They're probably not going to get off their ass and go out and meet people and play for next to nothing, which creates the reality. Their reality is they're probably going to wait tables down there and return back home within a year and say, oh, you know what, it was really tough down there. So you see where these beliefs come from. Let me just give you the one example. A lot of jackrabbit, the principles come out of my experience when I had that accident on July 28th, 1992. That tragically left a really good friend of mine dead. So here's the power of beliefs. We have this accident. He dies. I crossed over and came back. It's in the book, Back from Heaven's Front Porch. What were my beliefs then about that situation? There's no doubt it was tragic and horrible. But here's what my beliefs were. This sucks. It was my fault. Nobody understands. Let me have another beer. What was my mindset then? Victim. My feeling was defeated. My action was lethargic, grab a beer, try to numb the pain. And then the reality I created was I was going nowhere fast. I was going in a very, very negative place, dark place, contemplating very bad things to do. So it wasn't until I had that phone call with my mom, and this is where I started to think about this. She said, when are you coming home? We can't wait to see you. That shifted my beliefs. All right, it was an accident. Nobody blames me. You know, his widow and his kids, they'll have it rough, but they're going to be okay. They're strong. You know, there are people that really support me. See the belief nobody understands versus I got some really good people that are going to get me through this. So then how do I feel? I feel a little bit more resilient, right? Versus defeated and survivor's guilt. So then what actions do you take? Well, I went back home from the Outer Banks of North Carolina and didn't do anything bad to myself that I was contemplating. I came home, I got a job, I went back to Westchester University, took 2 master's degree courses. Never got my master's, but it doesn't matter. I started to take action from those beliefs. All right, so I hope it kind of makes sense to you here. So here's how to do it, right? Okay, Danny, I got it. How do I do it? Here's one way to do it. Think about one area of your life right now that you're really not satisfied with. It could be your job, it could be your health and your weight. You know, oftentimes in weight, people go like this, well, you know, I travel a lot. It's hard to eat good when I'm on the road. Belief, bullshit. They got salads and they got sushi and they got fish on the road. Well, you don't understand. I mean, with the kids, I come home and there's no time. Bullshit. You get up earlier, you stay up later. You know, you take a walk, you run. And I'm not calling bullshit on them. It's the same way with me. That's where I've realized I've had so many beliefs before, and you hold up the mirror and you go, what the heck? So think about one area that you're not real satisfied with right now. And what I want you to do is grab a blank piece of paper and just start down. If I said to you, okay, what's going on? What do you think about this? What do you think about your job? What do you think about your health? What do you think about this relationship? You know, what do you think about the possibility of writing a book? What do you think about the possibility of getting that book made into a screenplay, into a movie? Think about all the limiting beliefs people have there. Oh, that's impossible. You'll never do that. Jennifer Aniston would never be in your movie. Well, I'm not holding those beliefs right now. I'm holding different beliefs around that, and we can choose them too. So start to write down your beliefs. I had a guy out in Colorado, out in Vail, worked at a 5-star resort. You know, he was one of the leaders there, and he started to do it. And he said, well, Danny, they're all negative. And I said, you know, of course they are. They're the limiting beliefs. If they were all positive, that part of your life would probably be a whole lot better. So he started to write them down, and he said, okay, what do I do with them now? He must have had 12 or 15. I said, great, now let's see if there's any patterns there. Certainly start to see some patterns. So you bundle up a couple of those beliefs, and then you switch them. Just like I talked to you about the Bourne sisters down in Nashville and Ruth in New Orleans, me with my accident, right? Start to switch them and say, how could I think about this differently? in a more constructive, a more positive way. And then write those out. And again, get them somewhere that you're going to see them and start to be conscious of them. Because remember, your beliefs are running in your unconscious mind. So to change this, the work has to be very conscious. What I like to do then is I put the new beliefs that I'm going to work on at the bottom of my vision statement. So I'm seeing it at least once a week. So for me, one of my beliefs is building my Jackrabbit business is easy. I meet really cool people. That's different than I hope this works out. It's kind of hard to start your own consulting business. There's a million coaches and trainers out there, all different beliefs. So we feel differently. Then once you got the positive beliefs out, one-line statements, then here's the key to anchor them. You've got to take action from those beliefs. So if somebody wrote down a new belief, I would say, okay, if somebody that believes that, where would they go and what would they do right now? What's their action? So as you take enough actions, then that starts to anchor the new belief. That area of your life changes and it gets better, right? And this is so true even when we have a shitty relationship, right? Or our finances aren't the way they want to be. I get that that's not what we want. The key is how do we move to the other side of that, rather than we just complain too much about it. So I want you to try out that exercise. You can also Google limiting beliefs. There's a ton of great work out there, wonderful coaches, wonderful videos. So again, if you get what I'm saying, that's great. There's a lot of other people out there where you can seek some support. So I hope this video has worked for you and kind of landed for you. And I'll leave you with a quote around this. So if you've never read the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, I would encourage you to do it. It's one of those books everybody should read. And he talks about when he was in the concentration camps. He was a Swiss psychiatrist and went in there and just a really moving and powerful book and timeless. But he talks about this. He says, the last of the human freedoms is one's ability to choose our attitude in any given set of circumstances. And he said, while as tragic and as horrible as that experience was and that event was, he talks about the people that chose different mindsets from some of the people who didn't. So I wish you a wonderful February. And you can find me if you need to email me. Just go to the website, shoot me a quick email. I've also got Facebook presence out there. But I was on my run this morning, and I thought about how thankful I am for all of you, because each month now, you are trusting me with a camera and unlimited time to talk. And that could be a scary proposition. So I love you all. I wish you all the best. Be well.